Hello guys, and welcome to this hands-on session on summarizing your data. So I'll start off by illustrating proc means. So let me create a new program and rename that as proc means. So if you just go proc means data equals retail underscore purchases underscore comp, so the combined data set that has the product category added to it, we just go max des equals 2, so specifying that we want a maximum number of decimals equals 2, and then the no print option to tell SAS not to print out the results because we're already generating an output data set, and then the n way to make sure that we only get the right or the combinations of the basket key or of the class variable that we're actually looking for. So if we just go class basket underscore key, then we want to produce stats on the spend and quantity variables, so we specify that via the var statement. And then because we want to generate an output data set, we just go output out equals basket underscore stats. We want to drop a variable, in this case the underscore type underscore variable, but there's another automatic variable which is the underscore frac underscore variable that automatically gets produced that we want to actually use it. We want to rename it as number of TRXs because this is actually the number of times any given basket key, i.e. your class variable, occurs. Okay. We then need to specify the names that we want to use for the descriptive stats. So the mean variable, so the mean of the spend and the mean of the quantity, we want to rename those as mean SPD and as mean QT. The sum of the spend, we want to rename that as sum SPD and sum QT. The maximum, we want to rename those as max SPD and max QT, and the minimum we want to rename it as, or to use min SPD and min QT as descriptives. So we close off our proc and we just run a proc print on that output data set, that basket stats data set, on a few of those observations to make sure that we got what we were looking for. Just run that. And you should be getting your results. So there you go. For each basket key, you've got the number of transactions, the mean, the sum, the max, all of the variables that you asked for. So very useful way to describe that, quite a few different variables, or compute a few different variables related to that basket key. Okay. Okay, so that's proc means, really a very useful proc in your SAS analytics work. Okay. If we now go and create a new program to basically illustrate another technique that we briefly touched upon, so let's just create a new program and let's rename that as grouping format. Okay, and here what we want to do is we want to start off by creating a format, so we'll just go proc format, and then we want to create a format for the basket group values. Okay, so basically we want to create a format called basket group, so no $sign in front of it, so it's actually a numeric format. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to go from the lower value all the way up to 20. We want to create, or basically describe a basket as being less than 20. If the basket value is between 20 and 60, we want it to be described as 20 to 59, and if it's 60 or more, we want it to be described as more than 60. Okay, so that's the format. And if you recall the previous discussion, we then need a proc frac. And by using the format in conjunction with the frac procedure, we'll be able to group our data, okay, and to summarize it. So we just go proc frac basket stats, okay, which is the data set that we've just generated, and we want to tabulate on that. We want to tabulate the sort of the sum SPD. We want to then use the option no com and no percent, so don't want any cumulative figures and no percent figures, and that's some SPD. What we want to do though is we want to use the format that we've just created, the BSKT group format, to run this proc_frec. So if you just do that via the format statement and then close off the proc, run our code, there you go. We get basically the result where we have, you know, the total or the aggregate figures for that summary stats data set produced as a result of this proc_frec. So you've got total number of baskets that meet each of those conditions. Okay. So this really useful way as well to group and to summarize your data. Okay. Now the third example I'll be taking you through is the use of proc summary. Okay, which is very related to proc means, although it's a bit sort of lighter when it comes to memory use, or it's just not such a complete procedure, if you want to put it that way. Now I want to still use the format for my, or you want to use a format for my store, so let me just copy and paste the format for that store, where I want to use the descriptors for the store rather than the store codes, and I want to basically go and do proc summary data equals retail underscore purchase underscore comp and way, then class by store key and product type. I basically want to calculate some summary stats at the store key product type level. Okay, so for each product type within each store, I want to work out some summary stats for that. Okay, so I'll use the format statement to specify that the store, I want to display it as store number 1 and store number 2, so I don't want any codes. Then the variables that I want to analyze are the spend and the quantity variables. I use an output out statement to specify the data set that I want to output, and that's the store underscore cat data set. Then I'll use this drop, and then I'll just use a shorthand notation for drop all the variables that start with an underscore, i.e. the automatic variables generated by proc summary. I'll do this via an underscore, and then basically 2 dots there basically. So if I just go, then sum of spend equals total underscore spend, and then the sum of quantity equals total underscore quantity, and just close off the proc summary, then just do proc print on that store underscore cat data set, and I should have my results. No, I haven't got my results because I forgot the semicolon after the proc print statement. Again, very important thing to always bear in mind. So let's just run that again, and you should be getting your summary data set. Okay, so there you go. It's basically there. So you've got for each store key, not with the store code but actually with the store descriptive, and for each product type, the total spend and the total quantity that basically proc summary is calculating for you. Okay, now you could also have not a class statement but rather a by statement. So if we just try that, you could also go by store key and product type, and you could do this as well for proc means. The only if there is that if you do that, you need to previously sort your data set by those 2 variables. Okay, so if you're using by processing, you're going to see that you get exactly the same results, but you need to previously sort that data set by those 2 variables, and there you go, exactly the same results. Okay, so bear this in mind, and this consideration, this class versus by distinction is valid for both proc means and proc summary. So that's pretty much it, guys. So I will see you at during the next lecture.